Welcome into Candlestick Chronicles, a 49ers podcast on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Kyle Madson. I write about the 49ers over at NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. Joining me, as always, Chris Biderman of the Sacramento Bee. I keep forgetting to do the bit. Damn it. I need to write a bunch of these down. I'm going to do a joke every time instead of just saying of the Sacramento Bee. I want to do a joke because I think that would be fun.
Yeah, so, we'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Just working our way up. Yeah,
maybe someday we'll work on it. But first, before we get into some 49ers stuff, a Jags 49ers preview. Oh my God, I just totally spaced. I just started thinking about Steve Wilkes being on the field, and not about lamb chops. I'm literally wearing a lamb chops hoodie right now. We're sponsored by Lamb Chops. sglambchops.com. That's the website. That's also where you can follow them on Instagram. They got a reel up right now that's showing off their new winter line. They have this like black Letterman jacket looking thing that I need. I'm going to need that.
We love a bomber jacket.
It's so
bomber
sick.
Jacket. I don't think they're underrated. I think bomber jackets are pretty properly rated in American attire culture, however you want to say it.
I totally agree. Man, it looks so sick.
I'm always in on a good bomber jacket, and
a hoodie under bomber is a plus look.
Yeah, we big fans of that look over here.
Use promo code Candlestick20 today to get 20% off of your order. Well, really any day. Candlestick20 is the promo code. Get 20% off at sglambchops.com. Comfortable clothing, high quality clothing, dope clothing.
Yeah, that's it. You know what they say? What's the most important thing with clothing?
Looking dope.
sglambchops.com.
We're also sponsored by Cooperage Brewing. It is our favorite beer. Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA. You can get that at Cooperage Brewing. You can order a case of it at cooperagebrewing.com. They will send it right to your door if you are 21 and over and in the state of California. And I have a bunch of it in my fridge right now. I might drink one after the show.
If you're into
I'm not going to run down and get one the same way you did because my beer is downstairs and in the garage.
Oh, we get it. You live in a multi-story home. Congrats.
No, we do.
Yeah, if you go to cooperagebrewing.com, you can get Dollar Pils, y'all. It's a Pilsner, a hoppy Pilsner, 5.2%. I have had it. It's excellent. Shatter Shield Oatmeal Stout, if that's more of your jam.
Sure.
And then you can always get their amazing pale ales or IPAs. You're going to get wet, hazy pale ale. If you've been to Windsor Waterworks way back in the day, you know what the deal is with that. Candlestick Chronicles, of course, is available. McCurdy Cove, which is served at Oracle Park in San Francisco from time to time. So shout out to our friends at Cooperage. Steph Curdy Pale Ale for all you Warriors fans. That's also a very good one. Pale Ale with Simcoe and Citra, 5.8% ABV. Order it from their website.
You know what? Why don't you go
delivered?
Why don't you go hops and ABV on all those beers? Just roll through them.
No thanks. That's not good pod content. Go to cooperage.com if you're curious, though. It is cooperagebrewing.com.
Hey, you can go see the structure there.
Yeah, you can go see the structure there. We're not going to bore you guys with it in this ad read. But yeah, check it out. Cooperage.com. Go to the brewery in Santa Rosa. Order some beer if you're 21 or up in California.
All right, let's get into this Niners Jags preview. The bye week felt like it was 36 weeks long. I feel like the 49ers haven't played in, what would that be, 9 months. It's been such a long time.
When you're in your position, and I've been in your position before, where you're writing as much as you do about the team and generating as much content as you do about the team, it can get pretty stale when they go 14 days between games. But
it's so brutal, dude.
I even have trouble, frankly, on the pod. It's like sometimes when, during the bye, it's like, all right, how are we going to talk about Steve Wilkes today? How are we going to talk about the pass rush needing to be better and the coverage needing to be better? And how are we going to talk about Brock Purdy being slightly underrated to underperforming to whatever? It's like
I was so excited. I was so excited during this whole process to not have to have Brock Purdy interception discourse. It was so nice. And then today on the radio, I was talking with James Ham, my co-host on The Insiders on ESPN 1320, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday. And I brought up Trent Williams and the importance of Trent Williams. And somehow that circled around, my point circled around to, and when the 49ers can't run the ball, it forces Brock Purdy to throw it. And that's when they run into the interception problems. I was like, damn it. I was trying to do something else.
We live in the society where
We do.
like evaluating quarterback legacies in real time, right? Like, is this guy elite? Is he great? Do we even talk about him like he's a good quarterback? Or, it's like everything is instantaneous.
It's wild. I have. Let's see. I'm going to try and do this without names. I have a friend who I have a person that I know who.
So you're not friends with?
Well, I wouldn't like. I don't like know. I know them via this.
Sure.
And he does a podcast about a non-49ers team. And he wrote a piece about Brock Purdy for a website. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. A different perspective on Brock from somebody who's not watching him week in and week out. This might be interesting. And the gist was basically his Brock Purdy's magic run out was kind of, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. I want to dive into this. And it was a lot of words to more or less say, well, he's thrown 5 interceptions in 3 games. Ergo, and just general statements about the pocket's not clean anymore, and he's struggling because the pocket's not clean. It was very strange and not informative. It's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe the last 3 weeks, you would say, man, maybe the 49ers need to look at finding a new quarterback. But if you only think about the first 5 weeks of the season, you're like, man, Brock Purdy, maybe an MVP candidate. Turns out seasons are long and a lot of different things can happen. And the best way to evaluate quarterbacks or teams is to see what happens over the full breadth of a season. Mm-hmm. And not just like react to saying, Brock Purdy's lost 3 games in a row. He's trash now. Whereas like you're completely ignoring the rest of what happened, which at the time, while the 5-game winning streak was happening, it seemed like what Brock Purdy was doing is really impressive. And as somebody like Matt Mayoko always says this, and it's definitely like an NFL cliche, but like
that you wouldn't trade Brock Purdy for Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know if he always says that. That would be a funny thing to always say. Like, hey Matt, how's it going? Chiefs would not trade Patrick Mahomes for Brock Purdy. Or Brock Purdy for Patrick Mahomes. No, like it's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The NFL has a way of like evening out, and it's just sort of how the league is. There's so much parity sort of built into the league that the teams that maintain you really have to earn it to be elite in the NFL. Like the Chiefs,
yeah,
5 straight title games. Few Super Bowl appearances, right? Like you really have to earn that. There's no backing into it. But any NFL team can win, 4 of 6. Like even bad ones can sometimes just get hot and win 4 of 6 games.
The 2017 49ers won 5 in a row.
Right. They started 0-9, won 5 in a row.
Well, 1-9, but yeah.
1-9. Yeah.
8.
Right.
So is that right? 0-8 and 1. I'm gonna fix that. Because they finished.
We have the technology, so let's utilize it here.
Thanks.
Yeah, they were 0-9. First win, they were 1-9 against the Giants.
That's right. Okay, very good. I'm glad we solved that. We have the technology. No, so here's the thing: is with the 49ers coming out of the bye, I'm not even necessarily worried about what the offense looks like. Honestly, I'm not that worried about Brock Purdy. Did he throw a couple of bad interceptions? 100%. And is that part of the reason that they lost 3 games in a row? Yeah, for sure. But if they don't get right defensively, it's not going to matter what Brock Purdy or the run game looks like. If they're going to give up long scoring drives or just scoring drives in general at the rate they were giving them up the last couple of games, if they can't get a stop against PJ Walker and the Browns in a big spot in that game, it's not going to matter what the offense looks like. So that's kind of the big thing for me coming out of the bye that I'm looking at is I don't think the 49ers are going to have problems generating offense. It's whether they can get stops on defense. That's my big question mark.
At some point, and I agree with everything you said. Like I'm more concerned about the defense because of what the standard has been for so long, and the fact that we would argue this is probably the most talented defense they've had during Kyle Shanahan's run, and it's just been like frankly not very good the last 3 weeks. But at some point too, like the Niners are going to have to win a game where they're down by 8 points in the fourth quarter, and that's like
yes.
And that is on the offense, right? Like obviously the defense maybe not playing up to standard could be a reason why you're trailing in the fourth quarter. But for the 49ers to be a team that we confidently say is a Super Bowl contender, they're going to have to start winning games coming from behind. Just at some point. Like being 0-38 when down 8 points or more going into the fourth quarter, whatever it is under Kyle Shanahan, that's a stat, right? 0-38.
Yeah, down by 8 or more in the fourth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like there's just no way that they're going to win a Super Bowl and never be able to come back from a fourth quarter deficit like that.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's just kind of I think indicative of where their offense has been and how just run centric it's been and how disjointed it can get when they have to go pass first.
Yeah, you think about it, like as balanced as the 49ers are, every NFL team wants to be really balanced, right? They want to have a good offense and they want to have a good defense. But the 49ers are so reliant on their defense and being balanced that they've never proven they can win consistently, particularly in big games when the defense stalls out a little bit and the offense has to pick up the slack late. Right. So I think that's one of the things as we go, and that might be probably the most alarming part about this Brock Purdy thing is like, it's never been good when the 49ers are playing from behind, right? Obviously 0-38 speaks to that, but it's been like pretty bad in the last couple weeks, or at least before the bye when Brock Purdy was in those spots. And so like, I don't know that you necessarily judge Brock Purdy solely on, I mean, you don't judge Brock Purdy based solely on how he plays from behind, but you never worry about Patrick Mahomes in those scenarios, right? Like if you're a Chiefs fan and you go down by a score or you're down by double digits in the fourth quarter, you're not super worried because you do have Patrick Mahomes. It was like Steph Curry in 2016 where you're like, yeah, Warriors could be down 8 going in the fourth, but Steph's probably going to score 18 points here in the quarter. And
they were down 8 was basically tied.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like speaking about balance and how balanced the 49ers have been and how generally that's a good thing. But when you can, like, you have to be able to win when you don't have that balance on any given week.
Yeah, you just have to have more arrows in your quiver. Like that you can't be. There's all the like complimentary football talk with the Niners, right?
Yeah.
And while this cuts a couple ways. One, that just means being good at football. You have good offense and good defense. That's the sport. That's the goal of the sport.
I love how being complimentary is some like novel idea.
I also love the idea of complimentary instead of complimentary. Like complimentary football, they're like, wow, nice catch. That was a really good catch that you just made. Like, sick run design. Dang, they got us. Really good design.
I was thinking more like, oh, that's some supple leather on that football.
I hate that. I really hate that. But no, but with in the context of the 49ers, what complimentary football has meant over the last couple of seasons is that, or over the last few seasons, Jesus, this has been quite a run for them. 5 years is kind of nuts. But complimentary football has been code for the offense isn't good enough to keep up in games, so the defense needs to get stops.
Yeah.
That's what, and that's not to, like, they've been really good. It's not to say they haven't been. But when it's never, oh, they didn't play complimentary football today, the defense got a bunch of stops and the offense just couldn't score. Like, that's never been the thing. It's always, oh, they didn't play complimentary football because the defense didn't get enough stops. Like, no, man, It has to cut both ways. And so that's to say, I think Brock Purdy, and this is where I kind of land on Purdy specifically. He's still only in year 2. He's still only in his first full season as a starter. So maybe he gets them to that point where when the defense gives up 31, he can get them to 34. Or if they're down 10 in the fourth quarter, he can throw them back into it. And he could absolutely get there. Like, we've seen enough to be optimistic about that. But right now, that's not where they're at. And can they get there by playoff time? I don't know. But I know for me, it's going to start with they have to get some stops first, regardless. Because if you're giving up 25 to 30 points a game, you're just not going to win that much. I don't care who your quarterback is.
Yeah. We should note Trent Williams returned to practice today.
Yes, big deal.
We had talked in last night's pod that it might be a prolonged absence given the way Kyle Shanahan was talking about it. Still not entirely certain that he's going to play, but I would assume that him practicing on Thursday means he's trending towards playing. So that's a big deal, right? If he's close,
Absolutely.
like I don't think the Niners would really push it if he was, say, at like 70%, right? Like, I think if Trent Williams is practicing, he's probably like 80 to 90% there. That's just pure speculation on my part. So that's really positive because we've talked at length about how important Trent Williams is. Deebo Samuel looks like he's going to play too. But to the point about the defense, I think this is a really, really interesting test for the Niners this week because of just how good Trevor Lawrence is at getting rid of the ball quickly. PFF has him among all quarterbacks who have taken 50% of their team snaps. He gets rid of the ball in just under 2.5 seconds. He's the 4th fastest in the NFL. For context, the guy who's 3rd fastest at 0.05 of a second faster on average is Joe Burrow, who just carved the 49ers up 2 weeks ago. Right.
And this has been the offensive MO of every team that the 49ers have faced. Get the ball out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so, like the 49ers add Chase Young, right? And the whole idea behind the pass rush, build the defense from front to back, talked about playing together with the secondary, forcing the quarterback to hold on to the ball longer so the defense has more time to get home. This is just going to be a really interesting test case for that because, I mean, the Jaguars' offensive line isn't good, and yet Trevor Lawrence is still able to play like at a pretty high level. Yeah. But like so many quarterbacks, like when you do pressure him, and he's so rarely pressured, he's pressured at 29% of his dropbacks, which is like third fewest in the league, or third fewest in the league by percentage. But when he is under pressure, he's completing 47% of his passes, down from 74% when he's kept clean, right? And his adjusted completion percentage, which is basically taking out all the variables, like does he make an accurate throw or not, is 81.9% when he's kept clean. Under pressure, it's down to 58.8. Right. So like,
jeez.
And the pressure again is for the 49ers defense has to be twofold. It has to be the secondary playing better and forcing him to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. And it has to be the pass rush getting home, which I think the pass rush would get home just based purely on talent because the 49ers defensive front is so much more talented than the Jaguars offensive front. But that all comes back to Steve Wilks. And is this thing of him moving from the booth to the sideline going to have any tangible impact? And he spoke to reporters today. He sort of downplayed the whole idea in it being a big deal or not, and basically just said it's about being able to communicate more in real time. Right? Like he wants to talk to the players face to face in real time, and he did confirm, which is something you and I weren't sure about. There is a phone on the sideline still.
Oh, good.
They still have a hard line phone.
It only dials back to 1997,
though. And also, his assistants have been occasionally giving headsets to players to use to converse with them occasionally. So there's that, which was a little bit up in the air.
That sounds awful. I'm a person who hates talking on the phone. If the only way I could communicate with my boss was to throw a headset on, and in the midst of a football game, having to converse with that person, that sounds awful.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, I don't want to crack open the whole Steve Wilkes sideline discussion again. The defense has to play better. That's
yeah, they have to play better, and I think Wilkes has to be better. I think the players have to be better. The communication clearly had to be better. Like that to me, like it's telling. The fact that they did this indicates that the communication channels needed adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like it was just an admission that okay, this is something we have to fix.
Right, the coaching staff sat down and said, "What are the issues? How do we fix it?" And that was they didn't just do this to go, "Hey, let's shake it up."
Right,
let's jazz it up a little.
Right,
there's obviously an intended solution with this. So
yeah. So it'll be interesting. Like the Jaguars are really good, man. They're 13-4 in their last 17 games.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. The blowout loss at home to the Texans looked really bad early in the year. Now it doesn't look so bad. But here's the second layer to the Trevor Lawrence getting rid of the ball quickly thing. The Niners have to tackle.
Yes.
They have missed so many tackles this year. Fred Warner, according to PFF, is at a 14.5% missed tackle rate. Last year, 10.2, 2021, 9.2, 2020, 7.5, 2019, 15, and then his rookie year, 12.8. And that's just Fred Warner. This goes up. You could do this up and down the roster. I'm just picking their best linebacker. Mm-hmm. So if Trevor Lawrence is going to do that, they have to get to the football and they have to tackle, and that's something that they've been really good at in past years. Right? They're not giving up explosive plays because they want to put that shell over the offense and force them to operate within this box, and then they were going to run and tackle, get you in second long, get you in third and long, and then get off the field. And they haven't done that. Teams have lived in second and third and short against them, in part because they are missing a lot of tackles. So that's the other kind of aspect of this that can't go overlooked.
Yeah, and I wonder what they're going to do with Evan Ingram, right? Like Ingram is a tight end who ostensibly plays receiver, right? But he's their most targeted pass catcher. I mean, the targets between Ingram, Christian Kirk, and Calvin Ridley are all pretty similar. Mm-hmm. But like, do you feel comfortable playing a slot corner against Evan Ingram, who's listed at 6'3" and 240 pounds? Like, do you feel great about Isaiah Oliver playing there? You probably would feel pretty good about Fred Warner covering him, but if Fred Warner's covering him, what does that do to your run defense, right? Mm-hmm. The 49ers run defense has been an issue. So I do think the Jaguars pose like some pretty substantial questions, given the way the 49ers defense has played the last few weeks. So I think it's just going to be like a really tough game. And it's kind of weird to be saying that about the Jaguars, but it definitely feels real in this moment.
Yeah, the Isaiah Oliver thing, it hangs me up a little bit because I think this is the exact type of matchup that they got him for. Remember at the beginning of the year when Steve Wilkes said that they were going to play matchup-based slot corner? And if it was a shiftier, smaller slot receiver, then they'd play Diamador Lenore inside with Ambry Thomas outside. But then it turns out that Ambry Thomas is not great. And so their best three corners is just Travarius Ward and Diamador Lenore outside with Isaiah Oliver inside. I think this is a game where they would want him inside regardless of what it looked like. So, I mean, this is why you brought him in. You have to, I think, just line him up with Evan Ingram and let him go. Maybe bring Hufanga down. Maybe this is a Jair Brown game.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, this is my. I did not. I think I wrote this. I don't think I brought this take to the pod. But if you're having a speed and enthusiasm, I don't want to say enthusiasm, but like a speed and tackling problem, why not get your fast safety who's good at tackling on the field? And maybe that's crazy, but you traded up to draft this guy, and then he's just going to play special teams for you in his rookie year. So Tayshaun Gibson can run around out there. Like, I don't know. this might just be grasping at straws, and maybe he's just really bad schematically and would be a disaster. But why not? Why not give it a shot after the bye?
I think that was sort of an interesting wrinkle that Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans would go to from time to time. Particularly
Tavarius
before
Moore.
Yeah, Tavarius Moore got hurt. They would play 3 safeties on third down a lot. And they would even move Jimmy Ward down to play man-to-man against somebody in the slot. Like the Super Bowl, the plan was on third down was basically have Jimmy Ward cover Travis Kelce and then bring Tarvarius Moore. Man, the Niners went from Tarvarius Moore to Charvarius Ward, and it's just Jimmy Ward. It's just
went from
like,
Tarvarius Moore and Jimmy Ward to Tarvarius Moore, Charvarius Ward, and Jimmy Ward to just Charvarius Ward.
Mooney Ward. But anyway, like I do think that's an interesting idea that I hadn't thought about, because like 3 safeties does give you a whole lot of versatility. And if you do feel good about Jair Brown, particularly like near the line of scrimmage, right? Like he was a guy, if memory serves, was a little bit better towards the line of scrimmage than he was as like a deep roaming safety, right? So I am interested in like if they switch up their third down packages to see if they would try Jair Brown, particularly because Evan Ingram is kind of a unique matchup situation. And I'm also curious to see like the zone and man-to-man split, and if they would consider running more zone when they do blitz, because it seems like every time they blitz, they're in man, and it feels like they've been hurt pretty substantially when they're blitzing, and opposing quarterbacks know they're in man coverage.
Yeah.
X's and O's talk. We're football guys.
It's just I don't know enough about where they're at schematically. Like I'm not in the rooms. That's the thing about trying to like break down all 22.
Yeah.
Is you don't know who blew an assignment and who didn't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe know what the coverage maybe should look like, but maybe there's some kind of wrinkle they're throwing out. I don't know. So I think against Jacksonville, I think they need to deploy a game plan similar to the second half they had against the Rams, where it was just press coverage and blitz a lot and make Stafford get rid of it, but also make sure that nobody's open or that nobody's getting a clean release off the line.
Yeah.
Like make sure nobody's open. Yeah, that's the sport.
No,
good job.
Pressuring the quarterback and making sure no one's open is a really
not to step on a later segment, but those are 2 of my keys to the game. No, but no, just making sure that a receiver can't get a clean release where quarterback under pressure can just dump it off to this underneath route. Remember his Puka Nacua in that first half? It was just over and over and over again. Well, they made that adjustment in the second half. I think that's the kind of thing they need to do, because they know that Lawrence, regardless of what the Niners pass rush looks like, is going to be trying to get rid of the ball within that 2-second window.
Yeah. I'm pretty impressed with the fact that Trevor Lawrence can play behind such a bad offensive line and like still be pretty productive and good at getting the ball out quickly. Like I think that speaks to Doug Peterson's offense. I think their weapons are probably a little bit better than maybe they would seem on paper. And again, it's not like an amazing offense, but this team is good. Like they're 13-4 in their last 17 games. Like they are a legitimate team that's going to be tough to beat on their home field.
Yeah. Also coming off their bye, by the way.
Yeah. So at
just
least
a brutal rest advantage thing.
Yeah.
We had a question in our chat. Was this
Luter and Womack? I would be stunned if either of those guys play. I mean, they might.
So
be
I think Womack probably gets back on the roster somewhere.
Yeah, play special teams.
I would be floored if Darrell Luter takes a snap for the 49ers this year. He didn't even play. He didn't even get training camp. So he would go from OTAs in late June to not playing any football to working in this 3-week practice window and then getting on the field? No, I don't think there's a chance of that.
I would think it's likely that they use this as sort of a redshirt year for him.
Yeah, I think him and Robert Beal.
Yeah, but
Unless,
barring injury, I mean they've had some random like street free agents play special teams.
yeah, so unless they go out in these 3 weeks of practice and just dominate and just look like one of their best pass rushers or one of their best corners, then maybe that changes the calculus a little bit. But my guess is they'll probably struggle some because it's their first time in the NFL and it's their first real practice.
Yeah. But Sam Womack, I would imagine, is back, if not Sunday soon, to just play special teams and provide a little depth.
And yeah, give them a better, because if Isaiah Oliver really is the problem in the slot, like if he's just not doing a good enough job in coverage and that's what's killing the 49ers, Samuel Womack won the starting nickel job out of camp as a rookie. Like he's capable of playing there. So that might legitimately be something that they look at if and when he comes back. So yes, Samuel Womack, no Darrell Luter. And no to Robert Beal as well.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think the Niners are in a really interesting stretch because they come off the bye, they play at Jacksonville, then they return to play the Buccaneers at home the following Sunday. Then it's at Seattle on Thanksgiving and then at Philadelphia. They have 3 of their next 4 games are on the road. And all 3 of their road games are against pretty good to elite teams. Depending on how you feel about Jacksonville, but Seattle's pretty good. And the
Jacksonville's better than Seattle.
Yes, Jacksonville's better than Seattle. Jacksonville's like half the game out of the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yes, Jacksonville might. Yes, correct. They are just very under the radar. Awesome.
Yeah. So like, this is a big game for the Niners on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't think it can be understated how big. Like as far as November 12th games go, this is as big as a November 12th game can be, in my opinion.
No, I'm totally with you because you can't. So the 1 seed's still the goal, right? Yeah. That's still kind of the stated goal. So they're the number 3 seed right now. But when you look at their schedule and Philly and Detroit, I don't know how many more losses they can take and still be the 1 seed. That's if you get to 4, like outside looking in and hoping for a lot of help. They're already at 3 and they're 2 games back of Philly, and they've lost now that ability to catch Philly by just beating them in week 13 and holding that tiebreaker. So, I mean, they have to beat Jacksonville. And then, of course, you have to take care of Tampa Bay. And then it's 3 games that you got to win if you want to wrap up the division in the 1 seed. So,
what do you think? So the Eagles are 8-1. What do you think the floor is for number of wins to get the 1 seed? Because I think it's 13. Like,
yeah, that's the absolute floor is 13.
Yeah, for you to even have a chance at the 1 seed, you have to win a minimum of 13 games.
And even then, you're probably looking at tiebreaker scenarios.
Yeah, which means you only have room to lose 1 more game.
I will say though, Philly is 8-1. They have at Kansas City, home Bills, home Niners, at Dallas, at Seattle coming up. Yeah. So they have a tough schedule themselves, but also they've been really, really good. Who does Detroit play? Because Detroit's very quietly 6-2. They're at the oh my God, Detroit might not lose the rest of the year.
You said that last month.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, they might not. But
okay.
But the point stand, like, if
I'm just gonna do a Detroit Lions schedule rant every podcast now. It's my new bit. It's my new lane. I occupy this space.
So for the Niners, they've played 8 games. They could only lose 1, so they would need to go 6-1 the rest of the way, conceivably.
Minimum.
And that's assuming that the Eagles go 9, so what? They would have to go 4-4 the rest of the way?
Yeah, and the Niners would have to beat Philly. That would need to be...
Yeah, right. That would have to be one of them.
Yeah.
So
Man.
for the Niners to finish 13-4 and get the 1 seed,
Hmm.
they would need to finish by going 8-1. Is that
Hmm.
right? Is that
Yeah,
math right? Yeah, 8-1, and
that
the
gets them
Eagles
to
would have to
13
go
and 4.
4-4, and one of those wins would have to be over Philly, obviously. So
No,
this is
Philly would no Philly's not 4-4.
they would have
It'd
to
have to
go
be
4-4 the
five
rest of
and
the
three.
way. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, 5-3.
it's tough.
So
It's like the hill is steep if the Niners want to get the 1 seed. Like I'm honestly at the point where I'm more, if you're the 49ers, more concerned with the division and trying to hold off Seattle. They're tied right now. The Niners have a tiebreak because of interdivision record. But that's something that they can, if they beat Jacksonville, beat Tampa Bay, and then beat Seattle in those 2 games they play, they can basically wrap up the division because they'd
yeah,
have a minimum 2-game lead plus a tiebreaker. So that's kind of where I'm starting. And then if they get through that Seattle stretch with 3 wins, then you can kind of take a look back at the 1 seed and see where things are at. But it honestly feels so far away right now, given how badly they've played and then how tough their schedule is, on top of all the stuff we just laid out of needing help to get to that 1 seed.
it would have to be like the first 5 weeks of the season, but better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the first 5 weeks of the season, with maybe the exception of the Cowboys, they didn't really play anyone great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pittsburgh, I don't know. I go back
Pittsburgh's
and forth
not
on
great.
yeah, not great. But like, beat the Rams, beat the Giants, beat the Cardinals. Not a super impressive stretch. Like, they need to play at the level they did, if not better, against just better competition. Like their second half of the schedule, particularly this 5-game stretch they're on right now, if you include the second Seahawks game,
Mm-hmm.
is really going to define their season, I think. Because if they run through it and they go 4-1 over these
Mm-hmm.
5 games, and you're like, all right, 1 seed is in play, because that probably includes, when you go 4-1, you're winning 2 out of 3 at least against Seattle and Philly in those 3 games. On top of beating Jacksonville and Tampa Bay on the way, right?
Right.
So, like, it's going to be tough, but this is the start. This is a huge game for them, and then it's the start of ultimately their last stand to get the 1 seed. And I'm not counting them out. Like, it wouldn't be crazy to me. Like, again, we talked about this team early in the season, the way they were playing in like the same terms, or at least I was, like the 1994 team, right? Like, arguably the most talented 49ers team of our lifetimes. At least like when I was like a cognizant human being who could form thoughts. Like, so them going on a run is not completely inconceivable, but it does sort of feel inconceivable by the way they've played the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
So
no,
there's
exactly. Exactly.
There's a lot of variance in terms of like what can happen.
Yeah. That's why Sunday's so important to me.
Yeah.
Because if they go beat Jacksonville, I don't think they're going to smoke Jacksonville, but if they beat them 31 to 21 and just kind of control the game and it's just a pretty convincing win, then you feel very good about Tampa Bay, Seattle. You feel good about them matching up with Philly again. But if they go lose 31 to 14, now you're looking at like, are they going to make the playoffs? Like, that's kind of where it's at for me.
The one thing with the NFL expanding the playoffs, I do think it sucks that only one team gets the bye.
Yeah.
I thought it was I thought the playoff format was more or less perfect when you had 6 teams in the playoffs with the top 2 seeds getting byes. Because I just don't like having one team get the 1 seed. It's just such a huge advantage, and it makes it, I don't like it. It just feels so tough for a 4, 5, 6 seed to really do anything in the playoffs when there's only one team getting a bye. Like, to be a 2 seed, I mean, really, it used to be just be one of the top 2 seeds. That's really all that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd rather have the bye than really worry about home field in the NFC title game. Because
Yeah.
road teams win in conference championship games all the time.
Well, the Niners would be in the mix still if they made a kick and didn't have 3 turnovers in Minnesota.
Yes.
So, made a kick in Cleveland, I should say. And also Minnesota. And didn't have 3 turnovers. Can we talk more about the Lions schedule? I'm joking.
Breakdown. Just do a segment like here's our weekly look
just
at the
turn
Lions
into
schedule.
turn into Detroit Sports Talk Radio. How many games are they going to be favored in? All of them. They're going to be favored in all of them. At Los Angeles, there's going to be more Lions fans there. It's not a home game for the Chargers.
Oh man, have you been to Detroit?
No, I've missed out on that.
Yeah, you have. It's not the most what's the word I'm looking for? It was like one of the more quiet downtown quote unquote major cities I've ever been in. I know they've like hit hard times.
Sure.
And all that, but
basketball arena is nice, I hear.
Good, really good.
Shout out.
Really good. Little Caesars Arena is really good.
Also a fan of also love what they're doing with their basketball team.
The Pistons?
Mm-hmm.
Fighting James
Cade
White.
Cunningham, Jalen Duren. That's it.
Yeah.
Isaiah Stewart's there.
Picks?
Yeah, I did a 6-player entry. And I'm really fired up about it.
Can you make it a power play so we can see what the multiplier is?
So when you go 6 players, you can only do flex.
Oh, okay.
When you do 6 players, so my flex play, if you get 6 out of 6 correct, it pays 25 times your entry. If you get 5 out of 6, it plays twice your entry. If you get 4 out of 6, it pays 0.4 times. So you just get a little bit of money back.
Got it.
So I went with Brandon Ayuk more than 4.5 receptions.
Okay, like it.
Yep. I went Christian McCaffrey more than 66.5 rushing yards, especially if Trent Williams plays. I feel very good about that, but I think that Kyle Shanahan, the Ayuk and McCaffrey things kind of tie together. I think Kyle Shanahan getting a bye week to dissect the Jags defense and dissect the Niners running game, do some self-scouting, and figure out exactly what's wrong. Whether Trent Williams comes back or not, I think they're going to have a couple of wrinkles where we see a couple of explosive runs from Christian McCaffrey where he gets up over 100 yards. So I think the more than 66.5 is a good number that I like. Deebo Samuel going to be back in action. I like him more than 10.5 rushing yards because, again, run game wrinkles I think are going to involve Deebo Samuel. So give me Deebo Samuel more than 10.5 rushing yards. Juwan Jennings receiving yards is set at 17.5.
I was literally just writing that down.
I'm going less.
Oh,
I'm going
more.
I'm going less than 17.5 receiving yards for third and Juwan. I think this is going to be a game where the 49ers know they have to win, so they're going to lean on their A players. It's going to be Ayuk, it's going to be Deebo Samuel, it's going to be George Kittle, more on him later. It's going to be Christian McCaffrey. So I don't think Juwan Jennings is going to get super involved in Sunday's game plan. George Kittle, I've got more than 3.5 receptions. Again, I think the Niners are going to lean on their dudes in this game. And then Trevor Lawrence, I have more than 23 completions. More than 23 completions for Trevor Lawrence for all the things we just laid out. I think he's going to get rid of the ball quick. I think they're going to throw it a lot. And I think he's going to complete a ton of passes.
Okay. Jacksonville Jaguars are in the right about the bottom third as I eyeball this in terms of tight end output against. So I'm going to go with George Kittle more than 39.5 receiving yards.
Dig it.
Just because sometimes I think getting all your weapons back doesn't necessarily mean that those guys there's going to be a lot of attention on Brandon Ayuk and a lot of attention on Deebo Samuel. And I just have a feeling that 39.5 is going to be an achievable number for George Kittle. Along that same line of thinking, I'm going to go with more than 17.5 for Juwan Jennings. That's basically 2 Juwan Jennings third down conversions. Right?
3rd and 2 on.
So 17.5 feels like a pretty achievable number. Let me look at the Jags numbers here. Let me see if I can. Calvin Ridley. I'm gonna go Calvin Ridley over 4.5. Sorry, more than 4.5 receptions.
Okay.
For Calvin Ridley, I just think Trevor Lawrence gets rid of the ball so quickly. He's going to be the number one option so often, and the Jaguars are good at getting their guys the ball.
Yep.
So I'm going to go more than 4.5 receptions for Calvin.
That has big. This has big Calvin Ridley, like 11 for $130 energy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see, man. But maybe Calvin Ridley gets shut out because Steve Wilkes is on the sideline.
Calvin Ridley lines up. He looks over. He's like, "Son of a." Meanwhile, Steve Wilkes is down there like, "Look at all the people. It's so loud." Yeah.
There are a lot of they put Trevor Lawrence at 0.5 interceptions. That's
gutsy. It feels like if he throws one, he's going to throw it to Dre Greenlaw. That's my prediction. If he throws a pick.
Yeah, he has 4 interceptions in 8 games. So
yeah, dude, Trevor Lawrence is really good.
He's good.
He's the second best quarterback the Niners have played this year.
Behind Joe Burrow?
Yeah. No, behind Daniel Jones. Yeah, no, he's the second best quarterback.
You might be
by like a lot. That's not even a hot take. Jesus. Kenny Pickett. The only other options are Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott.
Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford?
Matt Stafford. I confuse I say the name when I'm thinking of the guy with Matt Stafford and Sam Bradford more than anybody else, like in sports, really.
But Matt Stafford is Sam Bradford with a little better injury luck.
I mean, not the worst take. I think Stafford has a lot more arm talent than Bradford ever did.
There's a prominent Bay Area sports talk radio host / 49ers play-by-play guy who, not going to name names, who said that Sam Bradford was the best thrower of the football he's ever seen.
Huh. That's interesting. Also, the franchise quarterback who most looked like a punter in NFL history.
But enough about Brock Purdy. No.
Oh, yeah.
No, Brock's not built like a punter. Sam Bradford had big punter energy, dude.
He had when he had the sort of baggy sleeves.
Yes. And the helmet that was like a little too big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe the head that was too small. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
I'm done
Anything
with this
else?
podcast. Nope.
Done with it?
I'm done talking on this podcast. Prize Picks. You can join us in Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports. It is like my new favorite thing. They now have cross sport combos where you can get, like, for example, Steph Curry made threes plus Travis Kelce receptions, and the number might be like 10.5. And you pick more or less than. And that's super fun because I love doing cross sport stuff. I've already built a bunch of cross sport prize picks where I'll have like Steph Curry's points and Justin Herbert passing yards and just create an entry like that. It's super fun. Anyways, prizepicks.com/candlestick is the website. Use promo code candlestick for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/candlestick. Promo code candlestick for a first deposit match up to $100. If you join, let us know. Send us screenshots of your entries. If you send me a good entry, I'll ride with it. I'll punch it in. I'll rock with you. If it's bad, I'll fade it. Let's go. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy.
Chiefs are on a bye this week, so we can't do any Travis Kelce props unless they start incorporating maybe some friendship bracelets caught. Pop stars received.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. Let's get out of here.
Teardrops on his guitar.
There you go.
That's a throwback.
Nice reference. All right. See you, everybody.
Thanks, man. Bye.